Hello, I'm Dubsley, and welcome back to the first episode of Terraria, the show where I tier list Terraria. And to kick off, why not go with the most recognizable trait of the game, the perfectly designed bosses, from the evil to the bad to the bad. This game's bosses are so well designed and have some amazing items, so instead of sitting around, we should find out which are the best, in which I will drop all integrity to rank very highly. But before that, how about you rank that like button? Because personally, I think it's an S. Now, let's begin. The King Slime. The globular giant himself, so powerful he trapped a ninja in his gunky grime, and for this crime, he would easily rank a scrumptious S. But he kinda sucks. Like, bad. King Slime is the easiest boss in all of Terraria, and the first you'd likely fight. With his basic slimy slamming swarming of goopers, it's really not too difficult to fight him as long as you have a moderate arena. Once you beat him, he'll drop 2 pieces of ninja armor, either a slime hook or slime gun, and the solidifier, but he also has a chance to drop this slimy saddle. A slow mount, but one that can jump high and utilize a cloud in the bottle if one is equipped. Of these items, the slimy saddle and slime hook are probably the best, as the armor set is terrible for defense. However, if you're looking for a higher critical strike chance and movement before the Eye of Cthulhu, then go for it, champ. Also, its expert mode drop, the royal gel, is not good. By the time you beat him, slimes are not an issue anymore, so you don't need immunity. The King Slime will rank an easy E for the Eye of Cthulhu. It may be hard to believe, but this is my personal favorite boss for its great design and ocular theming. It follows a similar path to that of the King Slime by supersizing one of the little gremlins you'd fight in the first day and night. And similarly, it summons its own mini minions to help mutilate you. But it sheds some flesh to open a mouth instead of shrinking in size, and dashes at you, destroying all desire to derive joy from this deadly duel of dastardly disputants. The Eye only really drops a bunch of your evil biomes' respective ores, so that instead you have to put in the work to craft your own weapon. That is, unless you're in expert mode, in which you will get one of the best movement accessories for pre to early hard mode, aka the Shield of Cthulhu, an item that allows you to dash like the eyeball you have blinded. But okay, for once I'll acknowledge the faults of a wondrous eye. There's not too much unique stuff to come out of this unless you're an expert or master. For the most part, you're better off moving to the worm or brain, since it drops both components needed to craft the armor or pickaxe, as you can't do that with the ore alone. So, as much as I want to rank this an S because it is the best boss, I will instead give it a B for baby, because I want to whine like one now. The Eater of Worlds. This is a classic, a complete OG of the game, and its fight is kind of annoying. It's a giant worm, and it's evil. It'll try wrapping itself around you and crunch you up, but with the one tip to note being that you should fight it underground, because if not, it'll shoot a bunch of sludge shots at you. In all reality, it's a pretty easy fight, but a fun one at that. The Eater of Worlds will drop a mix of Shadow Scales and Demonite, allowing you to make Demonite armor and a Nightmare pick, which is amazing compared to the Eye's Demonite alone. In expert mode, the worm drops the Worm Scarf, an accessory that reduces the damage taken, making it an amazing accessory and one of the best expert mode accessories. The one thing holding the Eater back from an S is the lack of unique items, a problem most old bosses share. But with that out of the way, the Eater of Worlds has earned itself an A for alive, because that's how I feel after beating this guy. The Brain of Cthulhu. The fight is mostly fighting little tumors until the brain busts open, revealing a heart and an eye inside of it, and chasing the player, trying to confuse you with which one is the real brain. But this all pales in comparison to the baby that could beat it up. You could give a 6-month-old a small metal rod, and I am sure it could lobotomize this thing. The brain is the crimson alternate to the Eater of Worlds, so it drops Crimtane in tissue samples, allowing you to make Crimtane armor in the Deathbringer pick. But unlike the godlike Worm Scarf, this drops a pitiful brain. Not to say the Brain of Confusion is bad, but it's definitely worse than the Worm Scarf. And for that, it earns a C for Cerebral Cortex, the part of your brain I will repossess if you do not subscribe. Skeletron. Coming in with a bony barrage of Skeletron, the old man-hunting horror of the dungeon and an icon of Terraria, and a boss that absolutely slays me. Slays me, that is. I die to this guy at least 3 times every playthrough. Skeletron has some pretty basic attacks, but is powerful. In expert mode, he'll do more than spin around and punch by shooting some skulls at you. Once you overcome this, there's not too much to look forward to, as Mr. Skellybones here only really drops a hook, mid-magic book, or an amazing couch referencing the almighty father of Terraria tube. And the worst of all, the expert mode drop, an accessory that bones every enemy that comes at you. Wait, what? However, by defeating Jack, you get access to the dungeon, a crucial aspect to the average playthrough. That alone carries the entire placement of Skeletron, who I'm giving a C for controversial, the word that best describes this tier list. Queen Bee. Let's be straightforward with this. I know, you know it. This is a pretty good boss. The fight is hard without sacrificing fun. It's a fight I really enjoy. She drops a sword, magic gun, and bow that all summon mini bees to attack your enemies, and they're all good in some respect, but on top of that, she drops bee grenades, bottled honey, and bee wax, a material practically required for all summoners, if it weren't for obsidian armor. But what I would call the best item is the honeyed goggles. A mount that has a 1 in 20 chance to drop, but it allows you to ride a pretty fast bee for 10 seconds before it needs 3 seconds to rest, and then it can fly again. Now if we move to expert mode, we see a pretty weak item, that being the hive pack. If you don't have great accessories and primarily use some of the bee summoning weapons and accessories, then this is okay. But outside of that, this has very little use, and no long lasting use, as after this fight, the next time you could even get an item that this benefits is Plantera. That's right, Plantera has a drop that this affects, so stick around if you want to find out what it is. So what rank could this girl boss get other than an A for B? Deerclops. This is the newest boss and honestly a pretty good one. It is by far the hardest pre-hard mode fight. In order to actually damage Deerclops, you have to be close to him, and guess what? He has a lot of high damage close range attacks. And if you're far away, guess what? He'll hit you with a shadow hand. Now, I've already talked more about Deerclops in my video ranking every crossover, so if you want more information, you can watch that. But all you have to know is that he drops 1 of 4 pretty good weapons, and a 1 in 3 chance to drop Chester, a pet that also is your piggy bank, and his expert mode item that works like a better version of Skeletron's expert mode item. And seeing how I ranked Deerclops in another video already, I'm gonna give him the same rank I gave before. Deerclops is gonna get an S for superior, because that's what he is. The Wall of Flesh. If you were to describe this thing to me under any context outside of Terraria, I would run as far away as I possibly could. Truthfully, this is terrifying. The big challenge of the wall is really the terrain of hell. Outside of that, once you kill the Hungries, all you have to do is dodge lasers and you receive a random emblem and crappy weapon. But where the wall shines is its expert mode drop, the Demon Heart, which gives you 1 more accessory slot. Obviously, I do have to mention as well that the wall unlocks hard mode. This is truly amazing, but sadly, its weapons and uninteresting fights do bring down the wall a good bit. So, the wall is going to be receiving a B. For be ready, because I have no shame. Thank you to today's sponsor. I got it. I don't have one. I don't get those. I have 600 subs. What do you expect? But that's okay, because I consider you guys my sponsor. So it'd be helpful if you could subscribe or leave a comment like these wonderful peepers here. But before we get back to the video, I do just want to remind all of you out there that you are awesome. Anyways, please enjoy the rest of this video. The Queen Slime. I don't have to say it, I think you already know it. The Queen Slime kinda sucks. The only thing redeeming about this Belle Delphine Bathwater Blob is the Blade Staff, a pretty good summoning weapon. Outside of that, the fight can be pretty annoying, and there's not much that comes out of it. Her expert mode drop is also just as bad. It's yet another version of the Skeletron or the Deerclops item, except now it's in early hard mode, and it sucks even more. So as much as I want to support all women out there, this one belongs in the kitchen, cause she ain't done cooking yet. The Queen Slime is getting the first F tier for fabulous, because she does look amazing. Did you hear that? Sounds like it's time for a speed round, because I don't want to spend much time on the mech bosses, the twins. You know, they say 2 is better than 1, but I completely disagree. Have you ever tried handling 2 things? I get distracted way too fast. From these 2, you get Souls of Sight, which can be used to make a good couple item. But because the twins are a mech boss, they don't have much unique items to them outside of the souls. So, they're only going to be getting themselves a D, or derivative, the Destroyer. If you listened to me earlier, then you might notice I'm not a huge fan of the worm type of fights, and this one is just worse than the Eater. But the Destroyer does drop Souls of Might, which allows you to make the Mega Shark, an item that is pretty darn good. But because it's a mech boss, again, it's going to be getting a D for derivative, Skeletron Prime. Some may say that this is the easiest mech boss fight, but to me, I'd say the Souls of Fright are fucking stupid. So Skeletron is actually going to be getting an E for derivative, Mech Deuce. Wait, what the fuck? So Mech Deuce is a boss exclusive to the legendary mode of Terraria, something you can only get through seeds. All it does is combine each mech boss into one fight, and once you beat it, you get the Waffle Iron, a funny item, that is for sure. So for adding a new challenge and a new item, Mech Deuce is actually going to be getting a D. for derivative. A quick thing to note before the speed round is over is that in expert mode, each of these bosses drop a different piece to the mechanical minecart. This item is pretty good, but because they're not ranked as a whole, it's not really included in the ranking. But if we were to rank every mech boss together, I would put it in the range of around C or B. Anyways, it seems like the speed round is over, so let's move on to our next boss. Plantera. Let's be real here, those first 5 seconds alone trying to find a Plantera bulb is agonizing, but once you walk up on one and break it, the struggle is on a new level. Plantera was made for domination. She may be one of the most rewarding bosses to beat as she has an amazing pool of potential drops, including the Seedler, Pygmy Staff, Leaf Blower, and Wasp Gun. Oh yeah, I said I was going to talk about that one. Out of nowhere, the Wasp Gun uses that one expert mode drop from the Queen Bee. It does make sense since the Wasp Gun shoots those mini bees, but it still feels random because by this point in the game, you'd hopefully have much better equipment than the Hive Pack, which, again, is a terrible expert mode drop, but what isn't is the Spore Sack, Plantera's expert mode drop. While I wouldn't actively use this during a big fight, the Spore Sack can be good for mining, AFK farming, and exploring in general, because it really does do good damage in small enemies. Now, some people aren't fans of Plantera, the fight can be frustrating, downright making some people fucking hostile, but I have this love for Plantera that won't leave, even if walking into my arena feels like walking through cemetery gates. So, I am going to give the pedal to the metal hard-rocking bulb an A for Arlington, Texas. Golem. Duke Fishron. The Duke may just be one of the highest acclaimed bosses of the game, and why is that? Well, because of his wings, the Tsunami, Razorblade Typhoon, Flareon, Bubble Gun, and Shrimpy Truffle. I just named all of his items, by the way. The Duke really does not miss. Each weapon he drops is good, his wings are high tier, and expert mode drop, well, it's one of the most loved mounts in the game. But this comes with a price. Duke is a pretty difficult boss. You really do need good movement to beat him properly, but it is one of the most satisfying fights, and my little ADHD brain is so entertained by this fish. Duke Fishron has swam into my heart and gave itself an S for Shrimpo. The Empress of Light. The Lunatic Cultist. This is the only boss on the list without an expert mode drop. In fact, the only thing it does drop is the crafting station for the pillar fragment weapons. This is one of the more annoying bosses to fight for just how many attacks the cultist has. But far worse than that, he summons the pillars. I don't even need to say it. You already know where he's going. The Moon Lord. The final boss, the end of your playthrough, and the last step to becoming a god among NPCs. Being the final boss, the Moon Lord is a very difficult end to the game, having attacks that are so difficult to tank that if you manage to slip by until now without dodging attacks, you're in for a phantasmal awakening. The Moon Lord is guaranteed to drop 2 of 9 weapons that are absolutely astonishingly powerful. And some can get even more powerful by combining them with other weapons. But we're talking about the Moon Lord, a boss that also drops the portal gun that adds a good bit of fun to the post game. And in expert mode, well, he has 3 drops. One that's absolutely amazing, one that is okay, and one that is completely useless. But does it matter that the globe is terrible? No, because everything else is perfect. The Moon Lord is a perfect final boss. So clearly, the final boss in Terraria, the last to be ranked on Terraria today, is going to get an S for 17. The number of event and extra bosses not included in this video, but if you'd like to see them too, then like the video to let me know that you want more.